Ousmane Dembele turned into exactly what Mbappe feared most. He is doing everything the dictator dreamed of when he joined Real Madrid. Dembele is the one smashing in those massive Champions League goals, lifting major trophies, and finally winning the Ballon d'Or. Exactly what Mbappe hoped to grab after joining Los Blancos. When he walked away from Paris Saint-Germain, everybody wondered who could possibly replace his insane stats. We are talking about a forward who regularly bagged over 40 goal contributions every single season. He was a pure superstar, often carrying the entire Paris squad on his back. People expected a collapse, but without him, Dembele stepped up. He is absolutely dominating League One and the Champions League. Like, seriously, this guy basically hibernates for the first 6 months of the year and then totally turns it on for the business end of the season. It is one of the wildest things I have ever watched. It is like he unlocks the ultimate cheat code for winning the Ballon d'Or. Just make sure you are fit and completely injury-free heading into April and May. Then he just cooks. Maybe that explains why he presses like an absolute madman up front. It is something Mbappe refused to do, even when Luis Enrique was basically begging him to track back. You see, the Paris press triggers right from the attack. They need their front three charging at the opposition defense like absolute maniacs. The forwards set the whole tempo, and Dembele has been executing this flawlessly over the past 2 seasons. Basically, ever since Mbappe packed up and left. Now sure, part of why Dembele can press so intensely is because the French league is not overly competitive. He does not need to start every single Paris match for them to grab 3 points, so they easily rest him. But still, we never saw this kind of relentless off-the-ball work rate from Mbappe. And those old tactical problems Paris had, well, they have completely shifted straight over to Real Madrid. Now, Madrid has a superstar who scores 40+ goals a season, but they suffer as a team. Meanwhile, Dembele is not bagging as many goals as Mbappe did. But when he strikes, it is ruthlessly efficient, and it happens on the biggest stages. Champions League finals, semi-finals, or quarters, he always delivers. Honestly, Dembele has given more to Paris Saint-Germain in just 2 seasons than Mbappe did his entire career there. Tell any football fan, 3 years ago, that Ousmane Dembele would crown himself the best player in the world, and they would have laughed in your face. Back then, Dembele was that frustrating winger who could easily dance past 5 defenders, only to blast his final shot straight into orbit. He was electric but wild, and honestly, mostly just a headache to watch. Plus, endless injuries kept resetting his momentum before he could even get started. But the football world moves incredibly fast. It took some time, but Dembele is finally matching his massive hype. People easily forget that during their early teenage years, Dembele was actually rated as a much bigger prospect than Mbappe. Even today, a lot of pros argue that Dembele possesses way more pure, natural talent. Rising through the youth ranks, his profile was completely unique. We are talking about explosive pace, elite dribbling skills, and the rare gift of being perfectly lethal with both feet. I have no clue what they teach at the Rennes Academy, but everyone comes out two-footed, from Dembele to Desire Du. The kid was just a freak of nature. He had zero fear running at defenders, and it barely took him any time to crack the Rennes first team back in 2015. During his first proper season, the 18-year-old dropped 12 goals and 5 assists in League One. Stats like that for a teenager were basically unheard of. Forget what Lamine Yamal is doing today. Kids that young simply do not stack up goal contributions like that. Dembele even bagged a stunning hat-trick during a 4-1 victory over Nantes. Those breakout games instantly grabbed the attention of Borussia Dortmund, a club famous for taking young talent to the next level. So in 2016, he booked his ticket to Germany. Playing under Thomas Tuchel at Dortmund, Dembele turned into an absolute sensation. His raw speed, sharp vision, and chaotic dribbling made him a total nightmare for Bundesliga defenders. He was the main engine behind Dortmund, winning the DFB Pokal Cup, wrapping up the year with 10 goals and a massive 22 assists across all competitions. Dropping a goal and an assist to knock out Bayern Munich in the semi-finals just sent his hype train into overdrive. Then he opened the scoring in the final. We were witnessing a kid who was flashy but dangerously effective, looking a lot like the monster tearing it up for Paris today. What an unbelievable strike. Dortmund takes the lead. He has been threatening that all night long. The close control is magical, and the finish is absolute perfection. Check out what the German newspaper Bild wrote about Dembele in January 2017, barely 6 months after he arrived from France. They praised his extreme, lightning-fast runs and beautiful dribbling. They said Ousmane Dembele quickly captured the hearts of Dortmund fans. Honestly, Watching him play back then was a gift. Lightning fast, heavily skilled, and barely out of school. His ceiling looked infinite. His form was way too brilliant to ignore. One massive club made it their absolute mission to sign him at any cost. That club was Barcelona. You know, back when Barca actually had money. In the summer of 2017, right after Neymar's shocking departure to Paris, Barcelona viewed Dembele as the ultimate Neymar replacement. They bought him for an eye-watering 105 million euros, making him one of the priciest football transfers ever. Bartomeu literally claimed Dembele was a superior player to Neymar. Yeah, that absolute scammer of a club president kept telling everyone his new winger was simply better. The stage was totally set. Ousmane Dembele was destined to become the future king of Barcelona. Thanks to that massive price tag and front page hype, the pressure on his shoulders was completely astronomical. Think about it. Neymar was widely feared as one of the deadliest attackers alive, a surefire future Ballon d'Or winner. Many considered him the third greatest of this generation, sitting right behind Messi and Ronaldo. So the young Frenchman was under heavy fire to produce results and do it fast. But a few weeks into his debut season, absolute disaster hit. In September 2017, a severe hamstring rupture completely knocked him out of action for 4 brutal months. It was just the first in a long line of brutal physical setbacks that haunted his time in Spain. Every time he caught fire, another muscle tear stopped him cold. Between 2017 and 2022, he missed over 120 games from blown hamstrings and endless reoccurring muscle problems. On top of his shattered body, the media attacked his professionalism. Ugly reports leaked everywhere about terrible junk food habits, zero off-pitch discipline, and showing up constantly late to training. Word has it he was addicted to video games, given up sleep just to keep playing. Absolute freak. Naturally, critics started asking the big question: would Ousmane Dembele ever fulfill his massive potential? Sure, we saw crazy flashes of magic, but he never became the reliable superstar Barcelona desperately wanted. Barcelona were already drowning in a financial crisis back then. Wasting millions on Dembele was a big reason why. The board honestly debated cutting their losses and just moving on completely. The funny part, by 2023, Barca were rebuilding under Xavi. And under the Spanish manager, Dembele actually started balling out. He showed those brief flashes of world-class talent again, even though his body remained super fragile. Xavi desperately wanted him to stay after a solid league run. Remember that crazy era? Barca had Dembele, Rafinha, Lamine Yamal and Ansu Fati all stacked in one single squad. During that 2022 to 2023 season, something shifted. For the first time in forever, Dembele was fit, consistent and genuinely dangerous. No more blasting the ball into orbit, like that infamous 2019 Champions League miss against Liverpool. But then, Paris Saint-Germain came knocking. In the summer of 2023, the French giants triggered his €50 million release clause. Dembele saw this transfer as his absolute last chance at redemption. Could he finally leave the injuries and wildly inconsistent Barca days behind him? Maybe a reunion with former manager Luis Enrique was exactly what he needed. The answer, a massive yes. It is honestly agonizing for Barcelona fans to watch. They keep asking why he never played like this in Spain. Dembele has been an absolute revelation in Paris. That explosive dribbling, lightning pace, killer finishing, it all finally clicked, turning him into a terrifying forward for Paris. Throughout 2025 and into 2026, the guy was scoring for fun everywhere. He completely shattered every single one of his old personal records. He is not just some tricky winger anymore. He is a genuine match winner. Luis Enrique has unleashed him perfectly, playing him out wide on the right or straight up top. No matter where he lines up, he dominates both spots. With ballers like Doué, Barcola and Kvara surrounding him, he just focuses on burying chances now. He doesn't have to carry the creative load alone, because that entire front three is lethal. They all score. They all create. It is the most fluid attack in world football. During his debut season in Paris, Kylian Mbappe was still running the show. Dembele had less pressure. His job was strictly making chances. And he delivered, like that perfect assist to Goncalo Ramos during a 4-0 demolition of Marseille. A few months later, he found the net against Monaco. Over that 2023 to 2024 debut campaign, he only managed 6 goals everywhere, but bagged 12 crucial assists. It took him a minute to find his rhythm, but he eventually dragged PSG to a Ligue 1 title and the Coupe de France. Now, you could say winning Ligue 1 with PSG is basically just playing football on easy mode. But over the next few seasons, Dembele evolved into a monster. The transition was flawless. With Mbappe finally gone, Ousmane stepped out of the shadows and became the main attacking threat, the absolute main man, the fresh face of a new PSG era, especially since all those expensive big money strikers they bought before him completely flopped. Kolo Muani was quickly shipped out, and Goncalo Ramos just never recaptured that lethal goal-scoring magic he originally showed over at Benfica. Dembele's ruthless performances in the biggest matches, that has been the most mind-blowing part. He delivered countless iconic Champions League moments. Whether it was his insane back-to-back hat-tricks against Stuttgart and Brest in 2025, or VAR confirming Barcola was onside before crossing to Ousmane Dembele, or how he absolutely ripped apart defenses like Liverpool, Aston Villa and Arsenal, he simply reminded the entire world of the superstar he was born to be. Unlike those dark days at Barcelona, Dembele finally managed to stay fit. He played every single week and became the undisputed heart of the Parisian attack. He built incredible chemistry with the other forwards, forging a lethal link-up with guys like Vitinha and João Neves. That is exactly why PSG transformed into a European nightmare. They always owned League One, but now they conquer everything. Dembele hit double-digit goals in 2025 faster than anyone else in football. The man literally dropped 5 goals on Brest in just 10 days. Absolute madness. Before 2025, his absolute best tally was just 14 goals during the 2018-2019 season. But by 2025 and 2026, he totally shattered those numbers. Luis Enrique himself publicly praised this massive comeback. The manager pointed out how his raw decision-making improved, finally bringing true consistency. That once frustrating winger started dropping match-winning masterclasses week in and week out. It is crazy. After the Messi and Ronaldo era, everyone assumed the next big war was Haaland versus Mbappe. Yet, Ousmane Dembele stole the global spotlight for 2 straight seasons. Paris Saint-Germain won every single trophy, securing a historic sextuple, with Dembele leading the front line. He was not just another flashy star on the roster, not just a random piece in the puzzle. He was the entire system. That is why he lifted the 2025 Ballon d'Or. Seriously, think about how insane this really is. Despite having Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, all those expensive Galacticos, and PSG still failed to win Europe. Then Dembele takes over, and suddenly they look like guaranteed Champions League winners every single season. There is zero doubt left he is the most dangerous, consistent attacker on earth. Domestic rivals or European giants, they absolutely dismantle everyone. Stopping Dembele is basically impossible now. Bayern Munich tried everything. But how do you lock down pure, raw unpredictability? You never know if he is cutting left or bursting right. He shoots beautifully with both feet. I have literally watched him change his penalty stance mid-game and switch feet for different corner kicks. Wide open pitch or boxed in a phone booth, he makes magic happen. For years, the running joke was that Ousmane Dembele had all the tricks but zero end product. That narrative is totally dead. Despite logging just 930 minutes in Luis Enrique's tactical setup, he still bagged double-digit goals this season. He is currently averaging a direct goal involvement almost every 60 minutes he steps onto the pitch. Honestly, the transformation is unreal. This used to be a winger who would freeze up in front of the net. His legs would literally shake. Pure panic mode. Today, he just buries the shot past the goalkeeper with absolute ice in his veins. Not a single blink. I have watched him shushing opposition crowds after scoring. The aura is real. Anfield, the Allianz Arena, it genuinely does not matter what stadium he steps into. He is finally a true superstar. He became the exact phenomenon we all expected back when he was tearing up Borussia Dortmund and sprinting past defenders at Rennes. Maybe Barcelona ruined him. Maybe their medical staff failed him with all that. Could be his new role on the pitch. At Barca, the squad was struggling and he was glued to the touchline like a traditional winger. At PSG under Enrique, he drifts central, even starting out wide on the right flank. He has total freedom to roam left or slide right into the middle. If he lines up centrally, he can easily shift right. He is constantly moving, swapping spaces and linking up with his teammates. Now, instead of isolating and beating 3 defenders just to whip in a cross, he picks up the ball deep in the danger zone, ready to strike. And since the guy is genuinely two-footed, Stopping him is a total nightmare for any fullback. Like I mentioned earlier, he can just hover around the penalty box while playmakers like Kvaratskhelia Desire, Barcola and João Neves and Vitinha spoon-feed him chances. That is exactly how he scored against Bayern Munich. A brilliant driving run from Kara. Vara cuts it back and Dembele taps in a simple finish. But we really need to talk about how Ousmane's football IQ has skyrocketed this season. Back then, he was all flair and terrible decision-making. Today, every single run he makes has lethal purpose behind it. He understands exactly where to position himself and when. Plus, his defensive work rate is finally a massive part of his arsenal. He even brought it up after a game. Half the clips going viral on Twitter show him aggressively pressing the opponent's defense. That evolution is what makes him terrifying. He still pulls off those flashy Dortmund-era dribbles, but his overall game is totally polished now. Deadly off the ball, lethal in front of goal. Ousmane Dembele is the ultimate comeback story. A teenage prodigy at Rennes, a total sensation in the Bundesliga. Then he landed that dream transfer to Barcelona and completely fell apart. But back in France with PSG, he is finally proving why the football world once called him a generational talent. If he keeps this momentum going, he has plenty of elite years left. He just needs to stay healthy. And to be fair, the Paris medical staff deserves huge credit here, keeping those chronic muscle injuries completely at bay. If his form holds, this PSG squad could absolutely dominate Europe. The roster is just incredibly stacked right now. Honestly, to see just how scary this Paris team is, even when Dembele rests, you have to watch this next breakdown right here.